Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question. Jeff.
Yep.
How are you doing today?
Ooh.
Is that a big question?
I'm pretty good, actually.
Cool.
How about yourself?
Pretty good. Had a little bit of relaxation time the last couple days.
Sure.
The last couple weekends, I've had to work extra days and whatnot. You know, with the holiday, there was a lot of stuff going around, and then I had to work overtime last weekend. So it's nice to have my usual 3 days off in a row.
Nice.
And
I missed that.
Yeah.
My last job, I had 3-day weekends, and it was great.
Mm-hmm. We did some Friend Quest yesterday.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yes.
So Gabe came over, and we actually got a few episodes in of Friend Quest with Gabe. So stay tuned for that.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll probably sneak that in somewhere between the next couple sessions with me and Griff. So
cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I would love to. I mentioned before I'm going to have some downtime, some days off pretty soon. So I'd love to do some more Friend Quest.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. It's always open.
Cool. All right. Let's get into this episode. So Jeff, I want you to imagine that you heard about this wonderful pizzeria.
Okay.
That you would like to go to.
Uh-huh.
So you don't recall what it was called, but I
saw it on a shirt somewhere.
You saw it on a shirt somewhere. Somebody gave you directions. So you're following the directions. You're going through this weird old part of town. You are not familiar with this, but some kid rides by on a bike with a basket with a baguette sticking out of it. And there's a married couple that are yelling at each other, very gesturing with their hands wildly. You find the place.
Hawkeye walks by with a quiver full of breadsticks.
Sure. So you're pretty sure you found the place. You know that you would recognize it by, I don't know, they have a big statue of a something or whatever outside. I don't know where I'm going with this, but you go inside and you see there's a person making a pizza behind the counter, and he's got the pizza dough. He's spinning it. He's flipping it up in the air. He's doing it, but you notice there's no oven.
Huh.
And you wonder how in the heck is he going to cook this pizza without an oven?
It's like I smell cooking. I smell cooked pizza.
You definitely smell cooked pizza. And then you see him toss the pizza up in the air, and you notice it's got toppings on it already. He's spinning it and tossing it while it's got toppings.
That's crazy.
And then while it's in the air, he opens his mouth and a blast of fire shoots out and hits it. And then at this point, you recognize that this man is very tall. He has red scales. And then you go out and you look at the sign and you realize why this place is called what it's called. Do you know what this pizza place is called?
What's it called?
It is called the Dragon's Hoard Pizzeria.
Delicious.
Yes. So today's item is kind of themed along with that. Today's item, actually, I found this on Twitter. The idea was created by @SnickleSocks, and there's some artwork along with it by @Alex Boquilio. I'm doing a real bad job with that. I'll find the tweet and I'll retweet it or something. But anyway, the item is called the Easy Bake Cape. It is a wondrous item, a rare wondrous item. This heavy cape has a dull metallic underside and 2 small knobs on the clasp. When the metallic side is folded over an object in a loose seal, the cape can cook the item inside. The knobs adjust the duration of the cooking and the temperature to a maximum of 230 degrees Celsius or 450 Fahrenheit. The cape is unresponsive if the food item is larger than a 1-foot cube or is a living creature. The cape must be washed daily, otherwise it becomes inert. And so in the picture, there is some good artwork on this. It is a picture of a dragon-looking fellow holding up this cape over a steaming pizza.
Oh, delicious.
So basically it's a cloak. You wrap it around something and it becomes an oven. It's even got the little dials that you turn to turn it on.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a fun item. I in theory you could do something like this, maybe not quite to this extent with prestidigitation.
Sure.
You can heat up or chill an object with prestidigitation, but
yeah, so it wouldn't be like it's not like super powerful item.
Yeah, I could not see this becoming like breaking a game by any means. It's just, it's fun. It's a fun little downtime thing, or like while you're adventuring, how are your characters eating? Like, what are they eating?
Right. Yeah. It's like, well, the ranger can, shoot down a pheasant or something.
Right.
And then it's like, well, we can cook it in my cape. I'm sure there might be some way to get like real creative using it for other means, but
yeah,
and just like having a magical heat source.
Sure. And like, I could imagine this being useful if the party is traveling through the wilderness and they're trying to be stealthy.
Sure, it does. It doesn't generate light,
right?
So you don't need a campfire to cook stuff.
Exactly. It would probably create a bit of an aroma, I suppose.
Maybe.
But maybe depending on what you're cooking. But yeah, you could heat up food to so it's not raw, and you could do it without creating smoke, without creating light, like you said. I wonder. It actually doesn't specify that it has to be edible.
Right, yeah, it just says that it can't be alive or
bigger than a 1 foot cube.
Yeah. So,
I wonder if there is some sort of cool way to use that.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it would make an aroma, so you could like put something that's going to like smell strongly and like attract or deter things.
Yeah. You could I'm trying to think of like other things that you could heat up that might be useful. I mean, it doesn't seem to happen quickly. Like, I guess it would take about the same amount of time as heating it up in an actual oven.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure what temperatures are needed for certain things.
I know that, to boil water is 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius.
Correct? Yeah.
So yeah,
you could
that would actually get you above boiling water. You could get some boiling water probably pretty fast.
But like in melting certain things or heating stuff enough to do, well, not damage, but not like hit point damage, but like,
I think that this could be really interesting
damage.
To see what sort of stuff your players could figure out to do. You could like create, if you have wax, you could heat up wax in this thing again with no heat source, with no flame. You could heat up wax and then melt it and then make casts of stuff. I don't know.
Like make a cast of a key or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It depends on exactly how it would work. Like if you could like wrap it around like a pole or something and heat up the pole to where it's like if you hit it, it would be a little bit weaker. So like if they were if you were trying to do damage to a structure or something like that, you could heat up a certain spot of it.
Yeah,
and then make it a little bit easier.
It would depend on the material. I don't think most metal. I think like iron, I'm sure wouldn't be weakened by 450 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
But hey, something probably could.
So, yeah. It's like even just warming up a plank of wood or something like that. I feel like would help. Would make it easier to break. But then again, I'm not really sure. I'm not a chemistry major. So
right. Yeah, I'm sure that there are interesting non-combat ways to use this. So if anybody has any ideas,
yeah, for sure.
So anyway, that was the Easy Bake Cape. Once again, it was not submitted by anybody, but it was created by Twitter user at Snicklesocks. So I will try to put that in with our all of our other Dragon's Hoard entries and such. So Jeff, if somebody wanted to submit a magic item for us to talk about, or if they had questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email. What's the address? It's hold on. InterPartyConflict@gmail.com. Sorry.
You had to look at your little cheat sheet over there.
Yeah, I did. Sorry.
And one thing that I want to mention, I mentioned, I think a few months ago, pretty soon, so we're coming up on the end of the year. We're coming up on our 100th episode.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have one more like non-standard episode before then.
Okay.
And that episode, we want to answer questions that are not gaming related.
Sure.
So like if you have any off-topic questions for us, questions about the podcast itself,
right?
Questions about us, our favorite TV shows. I don't know. Anything that you would like us to discuss, go ahead and send us a question. By the time this episode comes out, you'll probably have a week or two for that.
Sure. So. Anything. We probably won't get like too personal, I guess.
But... keep in mind, like we're not just gonna read off and just say whatever, but
my social security number,
just anything that you think would be interesting for us to discuss that would not normally be covered on a typical episode. Go ahead and send it to us, and we will hopefully have a fun episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So before we go any further, I want to remind everybody that we have a giveaway today. We are giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, courtesy of Goblinstone, and small little tidbit, there might be something special involving that coming up soon.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So keep an eye out for that. That's not just yet, but in the upcoming weeks, probably I'll have a little bit of an announcement regarding that. But Jeff, in the meantime, who is our winner today?
Our winner today is Quinn B.
Whoa, winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes. Congratulations, Quinn B. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. And I've had a couple people mention that it took a few days before they got it. So
sure.
If you haven't, I would say give it about a week. Maybe not a whole week, but if a week goes by and you haven't gotten it, please let me know. Yeah. I probably I always get a confirmation email, so I will forward that to you if you did not get your copy.
Cool.
And if somebody wanted to enter this drawing, Jeff, how would they do that?
They could send an email to here we go. InterPartyConflict@gmail.com, but they want to put in the subject line Chapel on the Cliffs.
Yes. Sorry, I should have mentioned that Jeff actually isn't with us today. His twin brother, Geff, is here. And Geff, I guess, is not as well-versed as Jeff is.
Yeah. Jeff left me some notes to help me through this, so hopefully I don't screw up.
At my work, I drink RC Cola very often. It's kind of my trademark drink. And even though I don't exclusively drink RC Cola, anytime I show up at work with something other than RC Cola, which is actually fairly often, but whenever I do, one of my coworkers that I eat with at lunch, they're like, whoa. Where's RC Cola? And then they started to think that like, oh, maybe this isn't actually Gabe that's with us today. Maybe it's his twin brother, Jabe. So yeah, my twin brother, Jabe, is the one that shows up with an off-brand Dr. Pepper. And
oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do tend to give Gabe a hard time whenever he's not drinking RC Cola, which he is right now.
I do have an RC Cola right now.
There he is. Delicious.
It is delicious. Anyway, so where were we? So next thing I want to say is that our show is brought to you by our wonderful patrons. Yes. And we have an announcement for that. We have a new patron this week.
Woohoo!
And not just any patron, a red tier patron.
Oh, man.
So we want to say a huge, huge thank you to Sean M. for being so awesome as to become a red tier patron of our show. So thank you so much. If you haven't gotten it, I've sent you an email with some more thanks and also like a questionnaire for the character that you want me to write a story about. So I will write about your character. So check your Patreon messages. If you haven't gotten it for some reason, contact me and I'll get you sorted out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. And also thank you to all of our other patrons. Our patrons are really what make this show work.
Yeah.
You know, until a couple days ago, we were about to finally break even on the podcast, but then we went and we got a 4-microphone mixer.
Yeah.
So
we want to be able to more properly bring in other people if need be, and maybe do some other projects.
Yeah. So we it'll be maybe another month before we've broken even, but because of our patrons, we have made back almost all of the money that we spent on all of our great microphones.
Yep.
All of like basically everything that we've spent money on. As long as we assume that our time is worthless, then the show will be turning a profit very, very soon. So again, huge thank you to all of our patrons. And if anybody would like to become a patron or just see what it's all about, you can head to patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. We've got several tiers on there. If you choose to donate $1 a month, you get outtakes. You get fantasy fiction that I write every month. Mm-hmm. If you donate $5 a month, you get bonus episode. We get a bonus episode every month. In fact, this month's bonus episode will have already come out already, but we're about to record it just now.
Sure.
We also have, I have like a little, I usually do it every couple weeks, every 2 or 3 weeks. I do like a little update for our patrons, talking about how the show's going, talking about the media I've been consuming. I'm actually a little late on getting this one out, so I should get one of those out tonight. But then if you're a $10 patron, you get you get to take part in our monthly Roll20 game. Jeff has been running those the last couple months. We've been going through an adventure that he wrote. And also, if you're a $10 patron, I will write about your character. So write about your character for the monthly fantasy fiction.
Sweet.
So yeah, once again, huge thank you to all of our patrons. You guys are so awesome. And if anybody else would like to become a patron or whatever, just go to patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. And if you can't donate or you don't want to or whatever, that's fine. The fact that you're listening is awesome. If you would like to leave us a review, that's cool too. Yeah. Or just tell a friend or just keep listening.
Yeah.
Anything you do is awesome. Yeah. Well, a couple more small plugs.
We got to start trimming this down.
We do. I really do. So Crit Academy is a great podcast. Check them out. D&D Character Lab is another great podcast. Check them out. But more importantly, the Crit Academy's Unearthed Tips and Tricks book came out over a week ago by now, by the time this episode comes out. And it's a great book. I have a copy of it. It looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks really good.
It's 85 pages plus like the covers and stuff. Yeah. So it's a great deal for what you get. There's tons of content in there. Yeah. Tons of great ideas for players and DMs. It's awesome.
And I like that they organized it by episode. So by the episode that they talked about them. So that's really cool.
Yeah. It's definitely great. I helped write it. Justin and I think Justin was the primary creator of all the ideas, but I'm sure the others, Ian, Brandon, even Justin's original co-host Ryan, I'm sure they all had some sort of a part in it. So check out that product. It's on DM's Guild. I've probably put it on social media, but I'll put it in our blog as well. Yeah. It's so great. I really think you guys should all go check that out.
Cool.
Enough of all the admin. You want to get into some questions?
Sure. Let's get going.
Cool.
I'm a little worried that I clipped a few times.
Yeah, don't worry about
it. Woo! Yeah.
Oh, well. Excuse me.
Happy Gilmore.
Yep.
Oh, you put new patron?
Yeah, I just wanted to make absolutely sure that we mentioned it.
Our first question comes from Happy Gilmore. Do you think people overly penalize or reward players for using charisma-based skills?
Yeah, so let me explain what that means.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this before.
Yeah, I mean, we had an episode kind of all about charisma a while back. I don't know if we specifically talked about this exact topic, but and besides, that was a while ago. And I want to mention that probably sometime within the next year, like we've gotten some questions that are sort of repeats of questions that we've done previously that I think, having spent more time and such doing this podcast, I think we could probably give some more insight on.
Sure.
So don't be super surprised, listeners, if in the coming months, if we do have questions that sound very similar to ones we've covered in the past. I will only talk about them if we bring something new to the table. So don't be like afraid that we're just going to be, covering old ground.
If there's something we missed or we want to take a deeper dive into something.
Exactly. Yeah. All the time, because I listen to every episode after it goes out. Uh-huh. I'm listening to episodes and I'm like, dang it, I didn't at all talk about this or this or this.
Yeah.
Even back to our very first episode, I was like, man, I should have said this. So anyway, so stay tuned, I guess is what I'm saying. So let's say you're at the gaming table.
Okay.
And the party they encounter some bandits. Mm-hmm. And the party isn't sure if they can take the bandits. So the party bard or whatever tries to negotiate with the bandits and says, hey, I think we can make a deal. Let's work together. You won't steal from us, but hey, we will give you, we'll help you with this. We'll help you with that. We'll go on this adventure for you and so on. And makes a really good argument. And then the DM says, okay, make a persuasion check. So then the bard rolls and then he gets really low. But he's like, oh, but I made a really good argument. And the DM's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you did a really good job describing the negotiation. So I'll give you advantage on that. And then they roll and you roll really high or something. And then the party succeeds because of it. Or similarly, the party has to convince the king to send troops to, stop the evil warlord or whatever.
Yeah.
And the player maybe isn't very charismatic. And the player just says, okay, yeah, I'm going to make a persuasion check. He rolls, oh, cool, I rolled really high. And then the DM is like, okay, what's your argument? And then the player's like, I don't know, please help us. And the DM's like, oh, you didn't do very good on that, so I'm going to give you disadvantage on this. And then you roll again. You roll really low or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think that is a very uncommon thing. And maybe not the exact examples that I gave, but I don't think it's uncommon for DMs to either give a player a bonus or some sort of like a mechanical advantage for like doing a good job role-playing what they're trying to do with their charisma-based skills, or for DMs to not let a player succeed even if they rolled really high because they didn't come up with a good enough argument themselves.
Right, yeah.
So the question is this fair? Is it fair for someone to, for most groups, I guess, to like reward or penalize people for using charisma-based skills as opposed to other skills?
Well, because it kind of comes down to like, is the player good at role playing?
Yeah.
Because if they're not very good at role playing, then they're not going to be very good at articulating their charisma based,
Sure.
checks and whatnot. So like, say this game is all about playing. It's a fantasy game. You're playing a character. You're not that person. You're playing a role of a hero.
Sure.
I'm not a hero. I don't claim to be a hero, but I like playing a hero.
Yeah. I mean, I am a hero, but
well, that's just you. So like, but I want to play a charismatic bard that can kind of talk his way out of everything. I want, that'd be really cool to be that kind of guy.
Yeah. I always find it hard to play a character with low charisma, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's tricky too. Like, just like if you're playing like any side of the extreme, can be kind of difficult because, that's why they say like that, like 10 is the average, like the average human. And like, it's as far as like, if you're comparing game stats to real life stats, like 10 is supposed to be the average or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I guess, I don't know. Yeah, let's not get into the realistics of, or the science of the stats or anything.
Sure.
But what was I saying? Oh, so like, yeah, like if I wanted to play a charismatic bard that can talk his way out of anything, but like I'm not that good at talking my way out of things. Like I'm a bad liar. I stumble on my words a lot. It would not work.
Yeah.
But that's the character I want to play, and the rules and the dice say I can do that. And so if I go to the table and I say, okay, I want to convince the king to send his troops to whatever, and I roll, like I have my stats that are specifically for being this kind of a character, and I roll the die and it rolls well and I get a high score. I feel like that's like, yeah, all right, you do that. I like it shouldn't be what is your argument? Okay, then I decide whether it works or not.
Yeah.
The rules say it works.
Right.
And then, you can say, I feel like you shouldn't penalize the player for not being able to articulate perfectly what you the DM think they like, they should be saying to make, what you think the king is going to be convinced by. Now, at the same time, I'd say giving advantage to somebody who can do a good job isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because that's encouraging others to try, like, you're encouraging the people who don't normally role play to maybe try and role play more.
Yeah.
Get a little bit out of their comfort zone, but you're trying to get your players to be, you want your
players to participate.
Yeah, exactly. So like encouraging, well thought charisma based checks, not a bad thing.
Sure.
But I feel like penalizing a player just because they just don't have that social skill. It's not necessarily their fault.
Yeah. Like, let me say that, I'm not against this. Like I'm sure I do this myself, and I'm sure that I, as a player, sometimes act assuming that I will get some sort of a benefit for this. Like, I will try to role play out my charisma based skills whenever possible.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily because I'm expecting a reward for it, but just because it's fun to do. But I guess let me put the issue this way. Why charisma? Why only charisma?
Sure.
If a player shows up at the game and they say, I want my character to pick up that giant boulder.
Yeah.
What if the DM said to them, okay, go and pick up that giant jug of water over there? And the player's like, what? yeah, go and pick up that big like water tank.
Yeah.
Do that, and I'll give you advantage on your character's strength. That sounds absurd, right?
Yeah.
Or if the player is like, I'm gonna try to, that guy, the orc tossed that thing to his buddy. I'm gonna try to like catch it and intercept it. What if the DM was like, okay,
think
and then
fast.
think fast, just threw something, and then penalize the player because he didn't like think to catch it.
Right.
That would also seem kind of absurd.
I mean, that sounds like a different game that could be interesting.
Yeah, but I suppose maybe we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that a difference can be drawn between physical stats and mental stats.
Uh-huh.
It can be drawn, but like, should it be drawn? Because in theory, your character is all different from yourself. Your character's strength is not your strength. Your character's intelligence isn't your intelligence. Your character's charisma shouldn't be your charisma.
So I guess it's not, I wouldn't say it's only charisma, but for the most part it is. Because like intelligence and wisdom, like your wisdom is basically being able to pay attention to things.
Yeah.
So if you're not paying attention,
I suppose,
you forget to check for traps.
Sure.
That's the player forgetting to check for traps because that's
a good point.
They're distracted or something like that. So the player themselves has a low wisdom.
Imagine if a player said,
that goes back to the perception.
It does.
Thing.
So like, let's say the party's going through a dungeon and then the fighter walks into a trap, and then the DM says that, oh, you walked into a trap, and then the player of the rogue is like, oh no, my character would have been checking for traps. But it's like, well, you didn't say you were checking for traps, but my character would have done it.
Yeah, that is a classic argument.
It is the same argument as the like, well, my character has a higher charisma than me.
So, and intelligence as well. Like
sometimes intelligence, yeah.
With that goes, but that kind of goes into more like meta knowledge and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So like, because like I know what a beholder is.
Sure.
My character doesn't know what a beholder is. So like, like I might do something that the character wouldn't have done, but because I know what the beholder is. But But if I don't know what a beholder is, but my character has a high intelligence stat, I could say like, oh, I'm going to roll and figure out what that is. Sure. And then get a really high roll, and the DM's basically like, oh, you know that this is a beholder and it has lots of magical powers. Stay away from it.
So I do have a theory as to why charisma is the most, is the one that this happens with the most.
Okay.
And that is that playing Dungeons and Dragons is a charisma-based skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
If D&D were more like a LARP, if it were you are running from here to there, you're grabbing stuff, you're doing stuff in real space.
Yeah.
I imagine there would be people that say, oh, if you, the player, are strong enough to pick up this thing, I'll let you just succeed on it instead of whatever the heck you do while LARPing. I don't really know. I think it's rock, paper, scissors or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I do think that is a big reason for charisma or just mental ability scores being more kind of the purview of like, how creative are you, the player, rather than your character.
Yeah, it's more based on the player, not the stats.
Yeah. But I guess the question is that fair? Should DMs expect the players to be as intelligent and as wise and as charismatic as their characters? Or is that a bit unfair to people who aren't necessarily inclined in that manner?
I feel it's important to encourage participation. Mm-hmm. You don't want to allow players to get lazy about their, role playing and stuff like that, because then it kind of takes away from the fun.
Yeah.
At that point, you're just playing dice.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so like you do want to encourage people to come up with stuff to say, whether or not it's a good argument or it's charismatic or clever or witty or something like that. I don't think you shouldn't penalize, you should get them to try. And if it is a really cool idea, then maybe like, you give them a little extra bonus to encourage that from them and from others.
Sure.
But like, if they say, I want to convince these bandits not to hurt us, they roll well enough. They say, and all they say is, please don't hurt us. If you were looking for something more than that,
right.
That's I don't think that's for you to, penalize. That's just like, well, okay. They obviously could be getting a little bit, they put more flourish to it, but the next time somebody does say something cool or special, you reward that, so that people are more likely to do those sort of things. That's why I like the inspiration thing in fifth edition. So like if somebody, maybe you don't give that, witty player a advantage on this roll, but you do give them inspiration so that they can get advantage on something else if they want to.
Okay. Yeah.
I like the idea of inspiration just because it's just a nice little reward. It's not something that's going to change right now.
Yeah.
But it's something that they can they can use to do something cool. I think it's an excuse to try something different because you have this advantage roll. You're like, I'm going to try this weird thing. I got
I don't have a high chance of succeeding, but if I use this advantage, sure.
Yeah. Or you can you can cancel out disadvantage with it or something like that. Something that, I'm a player that is going to shy away from things that I'm probably not going to succeed at. I'm building my character for a specific means. If I have this little extra thing, I'll be like, let's try this. Let's see what happens.
Sure.
So, but that's going off on a whole another thing.
Yeah. So, I do think that you should encourage players into the play style that you want them to play.
Right.
Of course, we've said before, don't tell people they're doing it wrong, but feel free to encourage what you want to see more of.
Right.
I also think that you should lead by example. Part of me though is still feeling like if I was a player that just wasn't good at that sort of thing, and I see everybody else getting all these cool bonuses for role-playing stuff, I mean, I might be encouraged to do it, or I might get kind of bitter that
sure,
I'm not good at this, so I'm not going to be able to, But then I guess if you try it, I think the DM will hopefully see that this is something you're clearly not good at, but you're trying,
right,
and then reward you anyway. I don't know. I think every DM should deal with that their own way, but I don't think it's unfair. But it is something to think about. It's not really something that I'd put a lot of thought into until we got this question.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got a couple questions here. One from Tim D on email. Have you ever played in or ran a game for younger children? So kids from 3 to 8 years old. What tips do you have from running such a game? And then we also have David E on Discord who asks, have you ever ran a game for a group of people with difficulty really paying attention? So I kind of thought those kind of went together a little bit.
Definitely, yeah. Because I would say probably the biggest obstacle with dealing with young kids is that they're probably not going to be paying attention.
Right.
Or at least not as much attention as someone just a little bit older might.
Right, yeah. They're going to go off track a lot easier.
Yeah. So some things that I want to say I got some of this from listening to the Cantrip, actually. They did an episode not too long ago where they talked about playing with kids.
Okay.
And also, if anybody didn't listen to the episode we guested on, check that out. It was a lot of fun. A few things that you want to do is you want to, when dealing with young kids specifically, you do want to simplify things a little bit. There's probably a lot of detail that is going to be lost on kids in regards to the rules and such. So if you can, make characters yourself, or at least I don't know, I would say make it with them. If they're maybe at the higher end of this, if they're 8 years old, talk to the kid, figure out what kind of character they want to make. Mm-hmm. Maybe you describe some examples from popular media, and then make the character with them. Younger than that, though, I would say maybe make a character and then try to describe it to them in a way that might appeal to them to see if they want to do it.
Sure.
But a big thing is that when you're running the game, you do want to keep their attention. But one thing they said on the Cantrip is that you want morality to be black and white. You don't want little kids to have to be dealing with shades of gray because
sure,
they're not going to get it, and it's going to make things a lot harder for them.
Yeah.
If there's a bad guy, if it's the evil bad guy that is hurting people because they love hurting people, kids are going to understand that. If the bad guy is trying to reclaim his home that was stolen from him, and in doing so, he has to hurt some people who are equally as bad as him, that's a lot harder for a young kid to understand.
Right, yeah.
So like,
and even if they understand that, I feel like they're not going to care as much because that's not what they're not going to be interested in that sort of stuff yet.
You want it to be clear what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to beat the bad guy because he's the bad guy.
Right, yeah.
They're the good guys. He's the bad guy. So you do want to make it as black and white as possible and worry about the nuance and like the realistic motivations and such later on. This isn't the best time. You want them to learn as few things at a time as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, if you have time, I would even say like kind of simplify the game a little bit. Don't necessarily give a 5-year-old a character sheet that has like 30 different character options on it. Just say, hey, you've got a sword and you're this good at hitting stuff with a sword.
Right.
Depending on their level of mathematical ability, maybe take away some or all of the like adding and subtracting. Maybe it's just if they roll high enough, they succeed. If they roll low enough, they fail.
Right, yeah.
Depending on how much time you're willing to put into it, you would want to adjust the game a bit to accommodate for younger kids.
Yeah. Like, it you could be simpling it down to basically a coin toss, but I mean, they're still rolling the dice. And
sure. I want to say that on the cantrip, they said that all that a kid really, the only requirements to play D&D really are the ability to read and, retain what they're reading and basic math.
Sure.
And pay attention. Like, I think those 3 things. So yeah, if you're going to run it for kids, try and dumb it down a little bit, however much you think is necessary. But if they came to you because they want to play,
right? Sure,
go ahead and do what you got to do to get them to play, because I think it can be. There's a lot of benefits to learning a game.
And, and if you can tell that the kids are catching on, like, give them credit for that. Don't keep it dumbed down just because they're kids.
Sure.
If they do seem to be catching on quickly, then you can always bump it up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe give them like a very, very simple character that all they can do is attack, but then after the first session, say, hey, you also have this ability that you can shoot a fireball or something.
Right, yeah.
And then add more stuff as they, and if it seems like maybe they're not quite wrapping their head around all, the 3 or 4 options they have, maybe dial it back a little bit or something. Now, keep in mind, I've never played with kids that young. I want to say the youngest I've ever played with is maybe like 12 or 13.
Mm-hmm.
So take this with a grain of salt.
Sure.
But from my experiences, I feel like this is probably in line with how you should act. Now, as far as dealing with players who have trouble paying attention, I have played with plenty of those, and I've been one of those on a few occasions. Let's be fair here.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
What were you talking about?
Nothing.
So this is a different issue. It can come on for lots of different reasons. It might be that they have trouble paying attention. It might be that they've got a lot of stuff going on at the time. It might be that they're just not as interested as you want them to be.
Sure.
Understanding the reason is probably going to help knowing how to deal with it. I'll just say, if you notice that like more than 1 or 2 of the party members aren't really paying attention, what you're doing might be worth just skipping ahead to something more interesting.
Right, yeah.
Because, it's sure you might want this like real gritty, intrigue-filled thing where it's a slow burn and whatever, but like if the party just isn't as invested as you are, making them spend more time to get invested probably isn't going to work.
There's an interesting thing that I witnessed at my niece's last birthday.
Okay.
I might have talked about this. They had a magician come by.
Okay.
And this guy was serious business, because anytime there was any of the kids who were starting to like whimper or mess around or not pay attention or something, they were out of there.
Oh,
just
man.
just gone. Like I was in the basement with my sister and like a couple other people who were just kind of like down there chatting because we didn't want to interrupt the show.
Yeah.
And like my other sister, my niece's mother, would like periodically come down with another child. Like, okay, we got another one. It's usually the younger ones, who are just like, who get fussy or, distracted or something like that. Like first one was my other niece. She's very young and like just she gets distracted and she'll make a lot of noise when she's bored. But I mean, it's something that, depending on the circumstance, that's something you might have to do.
Yeah.
Because like, if there are, say, 4 or 5 kids who are interested and you got one kid maybe a little bit younger who's not interested, getting fussy or whatever, if there are ways to do it, you might need to have them go and do something else, or
especially if they are like, if you can tell that they are making it harder for other kids to pay attention.
Yeah. So like that might be something that you have to deal with. It might not be possible depending on the situation. Like it might, this could be a situation where it is your job to, occupy these specific kids' time. You can't just be pawning them off to another, adult or something like that.
Yeah.
But, if it's like, a group of several different activities, you might say like, okay, maybe, little Timmy's got to go off and play with the blocks or something.
Right. One more tip about playing with like young kids, I would say try and keep the bookkeeping as little as possible. Like I don't know exactly what kind of a game you're going to be running, but don't, if there's like, oh, you lost some hit points, maybe just when the encounter's over, bring them all back to full. Don't worry. Don't make them keep track of exactly what hit points they were at, or like how many arrows they have or whatever. Like try and keep it simple to the point where they don't have to be keeping track of like everything that has previously happened.
And so I'd say maybe use more visual aids.
Sure.
But I don't know. I feel like that can be problematic too. Because I was even thinking like, oh yeah, have them have like a number of objects that they're holding, and then when they lose a hit point, they have to like give it away or something. But I feel like even that can cause issues with kids.
Yeah.
If there's a thing and then they don't get it, that's sort of like, that's more upsetting than just like, oh, I lost a few hit points. It's like, I lost a few hit points and I have less things than everybody. Crap.
Sure. I would kind of advise against running D&D.
Can you tell we don't have kids?
So then you hold out a treat and you open the door, you throw the treat outside so that they go and get it.
No, Gabe. What you do is you get your keys out. And you just say, look at the keys. Look at the keys. Okay, now roll a D20. Roll a D20.
Yeah, so again, we do not have kids, and we're joking. We don't actually think that kids are pets.
No, they're not pets. No.
But I would advise against playing D&D just because D&D is so rules heavy. There are lots and lots of lighter rules games out there, and heck, like if they're really young but they want to do something, just make up a story and periodically ask them what they want to do.
Sure. Yeah. Just have it be like, choose your own adventure sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they get the choice of what the character is. And
sure.
It's a choose your own adventure, but with more agency.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would, especially if you've got like 3 or 4 year olds, I definitely recommend doing, if they are interested in playing a game like D&D, but not necessarily able to, pay attention and grasp all of the mechanics and everything, it might be better just to like make up a game like that and then maybe slowly upgrade to more and more things.
Heck, man, kids can be real smart. Like my nieces are like, they are smart. Mm-hmm. They are manipulative and they're little brats.
Yeah.
I love them. But they're smart. But like, if like, and they're not very, like my one niece just turned 6 or 7. Jeez, they're growing up fast. But anyway, like she's really smart. Mm-hmm. If she was interested in something like D&D, I'm sure she could pick it up real easy because she's just smart. Kids are just easily distracted.
Yeah.
I feel like kids are getting smarter these days. So like, definitely give them credit if they're picking up on things well enough. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if they are interested in it, they'll probably surprise you.
Sure. Yeah. And of course you would know more about the children, whoever you are, you would know more about the children you're running for than we would.
Yeah, exactly.
So use your best judgment, like, cause I mean, thinking back, heck, I played lots of video games like Final Fantasy when I was 5, I guess. And I was able to beat them. I maybe didn't grasp the mechanics nearly as much as I do now.
Yeah.
Like if I go back now, I'm sure it would be way easier than it was when I was a kid. But I was still able to play it enough to play it, or like I understood it enough to play it. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because like there were certain things about, like, you know, you get when you're little and you're playing a game and you get so obsessed about it, you know all the character names, you know all about the lore and stuff like that. You start drawing the characters and things like that. You know, my parents would always like, if you were just this focused on other things, you would do so well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I just want to play games and draw pictures of Sonic the Hedgehog or whatever.
And I guess actually another downside of having a lot of mechanics that the kids aren't going to be able to follow is that will probably lead to them not paying attention. Even if the mechanics themselves are like, I don't know, if the mechanics are just too much for the kid to keep track of, they might that will lead to them just getting distracted because they don't know what they're trying to do. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. Then just, I guess one more thing, like if you have people that are having trouble paying attention that are not kids, let's say you are playing with a group of adults and everybody's got their phones out the whole time.
I don't know what you're talking about, Gabe.
I'm not, that is not directed at anybody in particular, but let's say that happens.
Right. It happens.
It happens. So what are some things you can do with that? Jeff, put your phone away.
No.
Okay.
Hey, look at me. Not at the phone. Look at me.
I mean, like,
there's no lollipop hammers in D&D. Or is there?
There could be. All right, Dragon's Hoard next week, guys.
You know, I'm sure there are plenty of Candy Crush themed magical items.
I'll try to find some.
Yeah.
So a lot of groups have like a no phones at the table rule. You know, I think that that could be reasonable. I don't necessarily think. I think that if everybody's mature enough, I don't think that's necessary. And you know, hey, sometimes there's an emergency, whatever.
Right.
You just got to trust your players to not spend the whole time on their computer. And hey, I've done it too. So I'm not with my phone because I have a caveman phone, everybody. But you know, just trust your players, and if you think that will help, couldn't hurt you to try it. Try it for a session, see how it goes. Because I have played with people who do spend their whole time with their face on the phone, and it can be frustrating. But at the same time, like even if I'm running the game, if the rest of the group is still having fun and that player ostensibly is having fun, you know, I'm not necessarily going to micromanage their enjoyment. I'll do my best, and as long as if they're still following the game, as long as it's not bothering anybody else, I'll usually just let it ride.
I feel like it's not that easy, but taking frequent breaks might help.
Maybe.
Like, yeah, you could say like, okay, nobody bring your phone to the table, but if you take frequent enough breaks, that won't be such of a big deal. Like, people aren't going to be like agitated and like wishing they had their phone on them or something like that.
Yeah.
If you give them the chance to, check it every once in a while. That's easier said than done, because sometimes you just want to get through a thing, or, the flow of the adventure might not work with that.
Sure.
Or if, you take too many breaks and you don't get enough done. But sometimes as a DM, you need I need to take a 5-minute break because I need to look up a thing or something like that. So
sure.
Rather than just having everybody sit around while you look up a thing in the book, say like, hey, take 5 minutes or so, use the bathroom, make a phone call, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I would say try that. Yeah. Try just doing 5-minute breaks every so often and see if that helps.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got a group that getting them back after those 5 minutes is going to be like wrangling
kittens.
Kittens. Yeah. That's the expression. That's the one. So maybe that might not be the best idea, but like I'd be curious to see if that makes a difference in the actual focus during the game.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for our regular questions today, but we've got our social media discussion questions as well. We only got a few of these this week, and they're pretty short, so this won't take too long. Last week's question was, do you keep track of carrying capacity and encumbrance in games? Why or why not? Yeah. Do you recall what your answer was?
I think we've usually just sort of stayed away from it just to keep things simple.
Yeah.
Although, there have been at least one or two characters where I've specifically had him holding a lot of things to where
Sure.
I went through and like made the calculations just to make sure I wasn't like way overdoing it. But beyond that, don't really track it.
Yeah, as long as nobody's trying to abuse it, it's just not fun to me. So unless the game is about that, I'm not gonna focus on it.
Right.
So over on Facebook, Sean M, who is actually our newest patron. So once again, thank you, Sean. Been thinking a long campaign, may use both for a short while. So I think he's saying like he's gonna do a long campaign, so he might try it out.
Sure.
For a little while.
Yeah,
so.
give it a shot. See if
it works.
Yeah.
You know. Andrew H says, I do not make my players keep track of carry capacity, but the amount of items their characters have in their possession must be within reason, unless they have a bag of holding or something similar. And you know, that's pretty much how I feel too.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily keep track of the number of items, but as long as it's within reason.
Yeah.
And quote unquote within reason being a purposely unspecific thing. So, you know.
Right. You know, yeah, you don't want to set a maximum number of cool things you can have.
Sure.
You know,
but if a player's like, oh, there's 100 swords on the floor, I'm going to pick them all up.
Right. You're like, nah, you know, like it's like, yeah, I could take most of the groceries in one trip, but like,
wait a minute, Jeff.
What?
Most of the groceries in one trip?
I try to get them all.
Yes.
But
same here.
they usually ends up me dropping something and getting mad. So I gotta start working on not doing that.
Yeah. Spencer J says, I trade weight for item count. So kind of sounds similar.
Yeah.
Easy to manage. They get a number of normal item slots, and then big items take 2 slots, and small items take half a slot, and tiny items take 1/10 of a slot.
Yeah. So like that would assume for like arrows or something, you know, 10 arrows in a slot.
Yeah, that could work. I personally feel like it's just more, it's more bookkeeping than I feel like doing. So I personally wouldn't do that, but hey, if it works for you, go for it.
Yep.
Brendan B says, in D&D, not so much unless it's a plot point, such as someone needs to swim across a river of slime to pull a switch. In GURPS, I have characters calculate their combat weight. This is their weapons, armor, flasks, grenades, etc. that they would have in a fight. I assume at the first sign of a fight, characters are going to drop anything weighing them down, such as the 10-foot pole, canvas, kitchen sink, pots, or a sack full of coins. That's actually really interesting. The idea that the characters would just be dropping whatever is unnecessary. I like that idea. But then there's always the part of me that's like, oh, well, why don't the enemies just grab that sack of coins and then run away?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know, I feel like maybe like things like gems and coins you would keep just on a purse, like a little coin purse on your pouch at all times.
Yeah.
But like things like where it's just like, oh, this you know, the artisan tools or,
sure.
you know, the bedrolls and rations and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it could just be on like one of those little like hobo sticks, you know, like little,
right, a bindle.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
You know, you just have a thing that they put down and like just have it be one of those things that like, all right, they're never going to forget it. You know, it's like just. It's like Indy's hat or whatever. It's like it's just gonna, you know, he's gonna remember to grab it no matter what. He's gonna get it.
Yeah.
It's something they're not gonna have to worry about. Maybe it can come into play sometimes. Like some you turn around and you see a kobold going through your things. You go, hey.
Sure.
You know, you can use it as a distraction, but I feel like that's a nice way to do it. So you have your combat weight, so they're not like over equipped, you know, so they're not overpowered with the number of like combat stuff that they can have.
Yeah. I think it's a good conceit for running the game.
Yeah. Like
you just assume that when you're in combat, you've dropped all of your non-essential stuff and then you don't have to say it, but you've picked it up again later. Yeah. I kind of want to use that in my fiction writing actually, because I like the idea of, well, I've got my bag of stuff that is just like my tent and all that. Yeah. I'm in combat, so I'm just going to drop it and then pick it up later.
There's a scene in I forget which movie it is, but it's in Lord of the Rings where Sam fights the spider.
Return of the King?
I think it is. I think it is the third one. But anyway, like, so it's Samwise Gamgee fighting a spider. He's got a sword and he's got the light of Eladriel. Or no, it's some the light thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not a huge Tolkien.
Dang it, Jeff. You call yourself a nerd. Do you call yourself a nerd?
I don't know. Do I? I don't know. Shoot.
I am one, but I don't call myself one.
But he's got this like huge backpack on him. Like he's basically got all of their traveling stuff with, or what's left of it at least. Like, and so I mean, he's like rolling around, and he's got like pots and pans or something, flinging around about. It's like it just seems ridiculous. Like it's like you would lose your stamina in like 2 strides. Like carrying all that crap. Like even if you did have a high strength or like it's still like it's gonna take a lot out of you. Like it's like there's a reason why they're like trying to develop like basically like exosuits for military.
Oh
guys,
yeah.
Like they carry a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
Like a lot of equipment. Actually saw it earlier today. There was like a little video on somebody. Just a YouTube post or something, or a Facebook post.
Yeah.
But it was a guy in full firefighter gear. A guy in full infantry, military gear, and then a guy dressed up as a knight, in like basically full plate.
Yeah.
And they went on an obstacle course, and like the guy in armor beat out the military guy, like because like the military guy was carrying a lot more stuff, and like there's always been an argument that like they're more nimble because it's better weight distribution or something like that. But they were actually like the guy in the armor was actually pretty nimble.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't like carrying a lot. Well, he was carrying a lot, but it was more evenly distributed among his body, I guess.
Sure.
Although the firefighter guy did do it the fastest, which I guess is good because, it's pretty important.
Yeah.
Not to say that protecting lands is not important, but anyway. What were we talking about?
Anyway. So moving on to Reddit, we've just got one. Lost Ranger 17 said, "I try, though sometimes I lose track. My campaign is very exploration based, so having the player keep track of their inventory for the larger, more expensive items helps with the overall feeling I'm going for." Yeah. And that's the type of campaign that I think this would be the most appropriate for. Yeah, is one that like you can't just leave stuff at home. You can't just, run up to the store. If it's like exploration based, survival based, anything like that, it is going to be more important, the moment to moment encumbrance and so on.
Yeah, but they do bring up a good point. It's easy to lose track of these sort of things.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're at the beginning, you're keeping track of everything. Like you get to the point where you loot a monster or a horde or something like that, and like you get that long list of items, and then you can't figure out. You can't remember who has what. Right. Like who's holding on to what, how much that weighs. You lose track of it real quick.
Yeah. The only reason that I care about encumbrance in any video games is because the computer automatically forces me to. Like it automatically knows when I'm over. Yeah. And it makes it known.
Yeah, you cannot fast travel when you're encumbered.
Exactly. So yeah. Over on Twitter, I am Carlos says, in this campaign, no, when we started, most of the players were still new, and I didn't want to bog down the game with one more thing to learn.
Sure.
The next campaign, they will be. Ooh. I feel that when you have to decide between which weapon you're carrying or having to decide between heavy armor and food and water, forces you to really think about how you play your character. There should be repercussions for decisions. Yeah. I totally agree with that. If that's what the campaign is about, awesome. But if it's just a normal campaign where that's not real, if survival is not your real concern, I feel like it's just going to bog down the game.
Yeah.
Jason S. says, no. Did once, and the level of realism was cool, but there was too much concern from players and detracted from the fun.
Yeah. Okay.
The Cantrip says, it depends on the campaign. If you're running a survival-themed game, encumbrance and weight are part of the challenge. The rest of the time, I find it can hinder the fun. So yeah, pretty much same thing we said. And over on Discord, Mason says, no, this absolutely has place in some games, but no one at my table is interested in dealing that as a player or DM. Understand that. Preston Penguin R says, nope, I've done it for a short time with one party. I did it because they were taking everything. For example, one character took an iron door from a dungeon. It was long and exhausting. He wanted the metal for crafting, but ended up selling most of it. And that's really where I feel most DMs enforce encumbrance rules, is when a player's like, oh, I'm just going to take everything.
Right, yeah, when they're just looting absolutely everything that isn't bolted to the floor, but even that because they have tools to break it up apart.
Exactly. And yeah, that's the point where I would start using encumbrance, is when a player is like, okay, shoot, I'm just going to take the doors.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's the push and pull and carry and drag stats and stuff like that.
Once the adventure's over, if the players want to figure out how they're going to get those doors back, awesome, do it. But during the adventure, like, you got to leave the doors behind.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, that's sketchy says, not generally. D&D Beyond will keep track of it if I choose to, though. Yes, for our Pathfinder 2.0 game, and it's such a pain.
Oh, man.
And then Damien from Adventures in Aurelia says, I haven't, but I should, or should at least enforce more realism. I'm pretty sure one of my players was walking around with 7 swords at one point. To which I respond, what's wrong with having 7 swords? No, I can understand that. Then Peace Roy Pancakes says, no thanks, I like my D&D games to be fun. In all seriousness, though, maybe in some games it has its place, but I don't think it adds anything fun or interesting to D&D. If stuff is too heavy for my players to take, they wouldn't try it in the first place. But if they did, I'd just tell them, no, you can't carry this big marble statue with you, period. And Adam B says, in my current games, no, because it causes a lot of maths most of my players are not happy about. But the same as everyone above, I enforce realism. But if we're playing a survivalist or exploration game, I would enforce it to some level to encourage decisions between supplies and equipment.
Sure.
So yeah, again, if that's what the game is about, double thumbs up.
Yeah.
I would love to play a game like that, but if that's not what the game's about, get it out of here. All right. So then this week's social media question is going to be, have you ever had a good experience with a DMPC? For me, the answer is no.
Yeah.
Have you, Jeff?
I mean, I can't say I've had any bad experiences with NPCs. Sure. I understand that can definitely happen. But like the few DM NPCs that I've encountered in games that I've played, like at worst we forgot about them. At best they were like, it was sort of like a funny little like, oh yeah, that's right, he's there and he's doing a thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are people out there that have had good experiences with them, or at least not awful experiences with them. So we'd love to hear some of those.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
All right. Well, that'll do it for our questions for today. So let's take a deep breath.
Hold on. I'm just gonna
get a piece of Pocky.
Yeah, I have a little treat here.
Well, if you're going to do that. So Jeff has a strawberry Pocky that I had on my desk here. I have a chocolate banana one.
Gosh. Toss another Pocky
onto the funeral pyre. I used to get Pocky from the same place I would get my Gundam models from. So whenever I'd be building a Gundam model, I'd be eating Pocky. So when I got this one, I made sure to get some, and
nice.
Yeah. Our funeral pyre story for today was submitted via email, but it was from @CollinsBlakely, and the story reads: Captain Connor Nephi Grayson, human fighter, and his allies Gorm and Stogrin had screwed up. After unwittingly opening a massive portal to both the Nine Hells and the Abyss, Connor blew up civilization's only defense against the Horde, a force field powered by an ancient obelisk, because he thought it looked broken and wanted to fix it with his fancy new lightning powers. The world mostly destroyed, the three were sent by an angel to complete a ritual that would close the portal. They retrieved ashes of a vampire and lich's phylactery without much trouble. But the final component of the ceremony was a human sacrifice. The three flew their airship over the gaping hell portal, an airship they stole, by the way, and Connor chose to sacrifice himself to save the world. He took the components along with a barrel of yellow cake uranium. I'm still not sure why the hell that was there, and threw himself off the side of the ship, igniting the barrel inside the portal, killing himself and a crap ton of demons and devils, sealing the entrance forever, all timed perfectly with Flynn Lives from the Tron Legacy soundtrack. So let's raise a glass in memory of Captain Connor Nephi Grayson, who now kicks ass in Valhalla for the rest of eternity as he is worshipped as a god by the world he doomed and later saved. Clink. So that'll do it for today. If you'd like to submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Horde, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/InterPartyConflict, on Reddit at r/InterPartyConflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where we play video games. We're also on Twitch at twitch.tv/FriendQuestStream, and pretty soon we'll have some episodes of Gabe playing with us.
Yep, awesome. Speaking of games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories Podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. I'm hoping to get another episode of that out at the end of this month.
Cool.
I don't have nearly enough submissions at the moment, but I will. I'm going to try soliciting for some on various message boards and such. Also, head over to bit.ly/InterPartyConflict to take a short survey about our show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hackers RPG. So, Jeff, until next time.
Hey, Gabe, over here.
What?
Look at the keys. Look at the keys. All right, end the episode.